one thing to do, and it's to find out if Yuri has an answer to this Colossal and get into the game. I think this is something that can force so much pressure from the leads. I'd be interested to see how Santino plays it early on and how he wants to go around it. I've talked a lot kind of off screen with you guys about how do you deal with a Colossal. You need a ground type. There's the Mold Breaker confirmation on Excadrill, and that's going to be a Pokemon that can, of course, really help out against this Colossal. So a number of options for him there. Obviously, Rotom Excadrill pairs up pretty nicely against the two of them, I think. So a really kind of good start from Yuri, and respecting what Santino's been doing throughout this tournament, understanding the way his team plays, what he might do, and I think leading quite well into it. That said, Santino knows his way around this team, and he knows how to maneuver out of these tricky situations.
Of course, and Santino leading out with the Colossal and Dragapult, a great pairing there. And Dragapult being most of the fastest thing on the field there, and being able to go for something like the Surf, activate that weakness policy and Steam Engine boost, and then being able to deal some damage to that Excadrill really does put Santino in a fantastic position. Although Alessio has been able to put himself in a position where he's got two Pokemon that can deal excellent damage to that Colossal, he has to be able to pick up those KOs, otherwise Colossal's going to be super speedy and start running through his team. And I think going for the Dynamax here on the Excadrill is a really great way to start. Rotom might be the target of that Colossal, so making sure the Excadrill is staying as healthy as possible, will be able to take any potential Surf damage coming out from that Dragapult, and be in a position to fire off something really powerful like a Max Quake in retaliation could be really optimal for Alessio. But no surprises here from Santino going for that Gigantamax Colossal. Again, one of these Pokemon that once it came into the fray was used everywhere. This is a really solid strategy that you can run with it. Interestingly enough, from Yuri, going to be going for the Max Guard on that Excadrill, as the Dragapult does indeed go for the Surf. So this will connect on the other two Pokemon on the field. Colossal is going to take a decent chunk of damage there. Rotom, of course, really not going to worry too much about that. But what it will fear is the Colossal Steam Engine going off and the weakness policy boost. There are so many boosts on this Colossal right now, Adam. I know you must be excited.
This Colossal's ready to go, and if his targeting is correct here, things could be going very well. There is the confirmation of Max Overgrowth on the Colossal. It does land into the Rotom, and unsurprisingly picks up a knockout. After all of those boosts, Colossal on the field looking a bit like Mount Doom, so scary to opponents from the other side of the field, and that's exactly how this team has to be played. Santino needs to make sure he calls protects and max guards correctly, picks up knockouts when and where he can, and that's one of the best ways to do it, is call the protect on Excadrill and just go after the Rotom. Of course, Amoonguss does take the field. That's going to be something that can kind of buy Yuri a bit of time, but one of his Dynamax turns on the Excadrill, he's going to be forced into, you know, being safe and max guarding, and really trying to push on, I think, is going to be important for Santino. He needs his next two turns, I think, to be 2 knockouts for this game to get off to the perfect start for him, and calling that protect, I can't undervalue just how good that was.
Oh, 100%. Picking up the solid KO there against a Pokemon that can apply a lot of pressure is phenomenal from Santino, and it kind of punishes the safer play there by Yuri. But another little tricksy move. This is Dragapult going to go for that ally switch and switch places with the Colossal. Amoonguss going to go for the range powder and be able to redirect the moves from that Gigantamax Colossal, protecting the Excadrill. But this is the thing with Colossal, due to its typing, it can also hit really, really strong fire type moves. The explosion goes off there straight into the Amoonguss, and once again Santino picks up another really, really solid KO here. There is still time for that Excadrill to be able to fire off a big move damage into the opposing Colossal, and here we go with the Max Quake, you know, really casting that towards the fire, but actually it's going straight into the Dragapult here. So Dragapult, thanks to the ally switch, able to take that targeting, and really Santino is in so much control right now. He's in the driving seat and calling every single turn exactly how he wants to.
That's very cheeky, is not only did you get everything set up first turn, then you make a mess of things with the ally switch. That's so good from Santino, and it is tough. We talked about it a little bit earlier, that these are open team sheet tournaments, and you do have to think about these things. You know, they know of the ally switch on the Dragapult, and I think a lot of people who have played against Colossal teams know about it, and it's a horrible mind game to play against. I do not wish it on anyone at all, where you have to call where it's going. It's absolutely nightmarish to go against. I really like this edition of G-Max Volcalith, even into the Protect, doing huge damage and just setting up for a kind of easy endgame, I think, with that residual damage coming down. So just a really good first few turns and a really quick-looking game from Santino here.
The Colossal is just completely in control. Breaking Swipe, going to go around and connect onto that Excadrill, lowering its attacks. Excadrill really looking to be in such a precarious position here. Going to follow up with that Max Quake, going to read up special defense. But I really think it needs more defense boost than just these two. Colossal able to tank that and still survive. And I think something to touch on what you said, Adam, having that residual damage as well from the rocks from the Volcalith is going to be so pivotal here. It's just going to be able to keep whittling away at Yuri's last two Pokemon. And as you can see, they are both so dwindled in their HP. You know, Excadrill going to be starting to be attacked by that Colossal. The Togekiss really not being able to survive through the protect of that as well. So even though protected, Togekiss is now below 50%. And I think that's key for this Colossal. It's able to hit all of the Pokemon that Yuri has brought for super effective damage.
This Togekiss is kind of in trouble as well. Like, we just saw how much the Volcalith rocks did between turns, and that's a problem. Extra didn't take as much because it was still in its Dynamax form, but now it's going to start adding up there as well. I mean, even though it's not Gigantamax anymore, like, the Colossal is still actually huge and is still a huge threat. So all it needs to do is remember it has the Steam Engine boost from turn 1, just set that up, and then Heat Wave for the win. So really quick game. I mean, that game was over in 4 turns. We had the 3 turns of the Dynamax, and then we're going to just jump right on into it and see where the answer is. I'm not even sure that Yuri did anything wrong here. I think the predictions from Santino were just so good and so perfect every single turn that's why he won the game. I mean, Ally Switch in open team sheet is a nightmare. You know it's there. You have to be so respectful of it, and if you call it wrong, you just put yourself in such a bad position, as we saw when the Max Quake hit the Dragapult. It's an audacious thing to bring to a tournament like this, but when you get to execute it so well, and the mind game in this one, where you know that he did a turn 2 Ally Switch, you've got to sit down and think, okay, well, is he going to do it again? And if you call it wrong, you're going to be in a whole lot of trouble. So a lot going on there. I really like this kind of mixed up Dragapult set. We obviously see them running a lot of offense usually, and that's pretty cool, but this one just does everything that he needs to, and yeah, Santino's going to be in a position once again to try and make those plays. If he can read the adaptations that Yuri makes this time, then he'll just be in the same position as he was last game, and Yuri has to really, I think, spring a surprise on Santino here.
I mean, that's the thing. Ally Switch is the complete 50-50 of Pokemon, and knowing that it's there just builds anticipation and mind games even more. Yuri going to go on the offensive here with that Rotom this time, going to Dynamax it up, as Santino does the same on his side of the field. It's one of these things, again, you know, Yuri, like you said, I don't think he did anything wrong in Game 1. He's gone with the same needs in Game 2, but I think he needs to go more on the offensive pressure. You know, Santino was able to really punish that Max Guard from the Excadrill in turn 1 of Game 1, so now that we're here in Game 2, Alessio really does have to start changing things up. Colossal is going to go for the Gigantamax up here, as Dragapult, to no one's surprise, does go for that Surf, once again dealing a little bit of damage to Rotom and Colossal, and a little bit to that Excadrill as well, but Colossal very happy to be hit with the Surf, going to be maximizing up its speed and activating its weakness policy, once again being such a commanding threat here on the field. The Excadrill, however, has something to say about that too. It's got a weakness policy all of its very own, so that's something that Santino does have to be aware of. Going for that Max Overgrowth once again, targeting down into the Rotom. Now that it is Dynamax, it is able to take that, but only just right down into the red health status there. So Rotom going to be looking a little bit precarious to try and get through its turns, but if it can fire off a Max Geyser into that Colossal, then that's going to be trouble for Santino.
A Max Geyser would be a huge swing of momentum here. Of course, Excadrill also has high horsepower, misses the high horsepower. That obviously has to use that because it can't Earthquake next to something like the Rotom with Mold Breaker. But it doesn't matter. The Max Geyser gets it. Everything's fine here. Max Geyser does connect and deal with that Colossal. So things certainly looking a little bit different in this game as Colossal taken out on the first turn.
Yeah, Rotom able to cover its buddy Excadrill there, you know, missing the high horsepower, unfortunate, but Rotom's able to save the day and go for that Max Geyser and also set up the rain so that any future Max Geysers will be dealing more damage, but at the same time, that can work a little bit in reverse for that Dragapult. We know that Dragapult's kind of a mix set, but something like Surf in the Rain still is something that Excadrill doesn't want to be taking.
Oh, not at all. I mean, Surf in the Rain is going to hurt, and we saw how much it did. Yes, it activated the weakness policy, and that was pretty good for him, but not quite what you want. I do think that having the Rillaboom in the back means Santino could pull some momentum back in his favor pretty quickly if he's able to. He does opt to go a little bit differently for him there. You know, we get to look at those choices. That's pretty cool for us. But yeah, I think Urshifu is just as good here, and maybe saving the Rillaboom for a little bit later. As I say that, Rillaboom's come in, so typical of me, really.
Yeah, I think you're carrying over not so much the curse, but just the prophecies, Adam, with you into today's broadcast as well, as Rillaboom does join the field. Grassy Terrain obviously in effect as Urshifu goes for the Surging Strikes. So going to go straight out and connect into that Excadrill. It's not going to appreciate that at all. Of course, critical hits guaranteed on all three of these, but it only takes 2 to be able to KO the Excadrill, and Yuri has lost one of his Pokemon, will be forced to bring in another one into that slot, and maybe one that can apply a little bit more pressure to these 2 offensive powerhouses on Santino's side. Max Lightning going to come out from the Rotom, and I really, really like this play. Not only do you take the Urshifu down to its Focus Sash, but you also are in a position where you can change that terrain, meaning that the Grassy Glide potential from the Rillaboom will no longer have priority.
Not having access to Grassy Glide makes this Rillaboom a lot worse. I hate to say it, but it's lacking one of its key features now, right? It's not able to play that smoothly, and it's also now against the Togekiss. So Yuri has managed to get so much value out of this Dynamax Rotom. It's something that I know people have experimented with, and watching him get like the full use out of it is so essential there. I really like this play. I think that, as you mentioned, the Max Lightning is being able to control the terrain so good. It's now going to force switches from Santino, and you have to wonder, does Yuri, read that and just start punishing him for those switches? Is he able to say, well, I know that he knows all the Pokemon on the team, right? There's no shocks left. He's seen them all. They've been revealed. So knowing that Pokemon, if you know that it's the Dragapult, okay, well, I can use a fairy move, something like the Dazzling Gleam, or I can throw moves that are going to cause problems that direction. So really being able to think a little bit more about his game plan once he puts his opponent on the back foot. And I think this Rotom's done that. This Rotom's been picking up knockouts and messing around with the board states so much that it's in a good position. I mean, that said, there's still Rain up, which is going to make Surging Strikes hurt a little bit more.
Yeah, let's see how much damage it does, of course, with those guaranteed critical hits going into the opposing Togekiss. Ooh, this looks like it's going to be a little bit close. Togekiss, I believe, might be able to survive on this. Just does over 50% on the second one. Third one coming out, and Togekiss is able to hang on. And I think it's critical hit Togekiss being able to redirect any damage away from this Rotom. It's a low HP, but it is now able to go for its final max move. Going to target down into the Urshifu. Little bit, of a lot of damage on a 1 HP Pokemon, but just in case there was going to be a switch in there, and just it picks up the guaranteed KO. You don't have to worry about that Urshifu anymore, dealing out that really big damage. And I like the switch by Santino as well, bringing in the Dragapult. Yes, it got in for free, but he's now able to reset the terrain and have that Rillaboom being an offensive threat once again. And he's got his ally switch and Dragapult on the field. Let the mind games commence again, Adam.
The ally switch I don't think helps him too much here. It could swing it in the next couple turns, but I think more importantly, I mean, the Togekiss is just keeping things safe for a little bit, right? And that's really key. Of course, if the Togekiss does decide to mix it up and try get some attacks in itself, maybe try and get a knockout on the Dragapult, things could be different. The Protect here, something we don't see on every Togekiss, and it can really mess with people. Of course, Santino knows about it from the team sheet, but if he's kind of completely gone for it, this could really slow him down and maybe trying to swing this game back in his favor. That said, Spread Move and Breaking Swipe certainly helps out.
Yeah, lowering Rotom's attack, but Rotom doesn't mind that too much. He goes for the Hydro Pump, does actually manage to connect and goes down into that Rillaboom slot. Even though it's not very effective, still deals a decent chunk of damage, about a third of damage thanks to the boost from the Brain as well. It was a nice protect there by the Togekiss. You might have suspected the Grassy Glide would go maybe into the Rotom, just try and remove it from the field. But actually the Togekiss is the one that applies probably the biggest threat to that opposing Rillaboom.
Most certainly, and that's something that needs to be dealt with if Santino is going to kind of pull this one back. This is the first portion of the game we've played at length with no Dynamax on the field from either trainer, so interesting to see how this one kind of plays out. Of course, that Dragapult should be able to pick up that Rotom at any point with the Breaking Swipe, and that being a spread move makes things kind of easy, right, to be able to go and tidy this one up. So I'll be curious to see what the last Pokemon is from Yuri. That's really going to decide this match. If it's something that can answer this Rillaboom, is in a good position. Amoonguss is certainly a lot slower than some of the other options, and really limited against Rillaboom. The Spore isn't going to be able to stop Rillaboom for the duration of the game.
Yeah, Amoonguss is not the offensive powerhouse that you really need if you're Yuri, but if something like Sludge Bomb can still do some decent damage to that opposing Rillaboom. But like you mentioned, Breaking Swipe, being able to pick up a KO against that Rotom very easily means it'll soon be a Amoonguss versus Santino battle going on here. Breaking Swipe going to connect. And we'll be able to pick up the KO on that Rotom. So Amoonguss having its attack drop again, not going to worry about that too much. But Amoonguss versus a Dragapult and a Rillaboom, the problems just get tougher and tougher for this Pokemon. Sludge Bomb does come out, but doesn't manage to pick up the KO.
No, that's a really good kind of change of pace from Amoonguss. We usually see it trying to slow things down with a Spore, but it has Sludge Bomb, and that's able to do huge amounts of damage to Rillaboom. Of course, this Breaking Swipe is going to be very, very slow at dealing with this Amoonguss, but it's certainly something, right? It's certainly a way out. Rillaboom's just going to keep on Grassy Gliding. That's a good amount of damage overall with the critical hit. But this game, I mean, Amoonguss may be able to swing it back in its favor. It's just going to be really slow. That said, the Breaking Swipe's starting to add up here. That damage is ticking along kind of extensively.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, the Rillaboom here with that Choice Band really putting in the work with that offensive pressure. And, got the Grassy Terrain side as well. It's going to be able to get the boost from that. And Amoonguss, yes, it can regain a little bit of HP here, but it doesn't have the main HP recovery that it likes to have with that Regenerator ability, being able to switch out and come back in a little bit healthier than before. So it is really stuck here facing down against this Pokemon. Rillaboom going to go for that Grassy Glide once again. Still doesn't do enough to be able to pick up the KO as Dragapult takes a little bit of a rest, leaving Amoonguss free to go for that Sludge Bomb, able to connect onto that Rillaboom and be able to pick up the KO. So actually, as you mentioned here, Adam, if this Dragapult can stay asleep and Amoonguss can regain a little bit of HP, maybe survive some of those Breaking Swipes, and then keep putting it back to sleep when it wakes up, this could be an opportune moment for this Amoonguss.
It certainly could. I mean, its recovery is now gone as the Grassy Terrain finally expires from this one, but this Amoonguss is bringing this game a whole lot closer than many people may have thought. So it's going to be a real close one with some not big hits going down. Those Sludge Bombs are going to be doing pretty small amounts of damage to the Dragapult, and of course while it's asleep it can't get poisoned, which is kind of an interesting one. You've got to be careful if you Sludge Bomb, because then you can't sleep it next turn, but it's going to take a number of Sludge Bombs. It looks like it may be 5, even 6 to get it there with the Dragapult. So the Dragapult just needs to weave in a couple of Breaking Swipes. Of course, the Breaking Swipe now adding up a little bit more as it's not spread out. And yeah, the Amoonguss, if he hasn't spored here, is done for. He has called it, though. Yuri making sure that the Dragapult stays asleep, really bringing this game down to the wire.
Yeah, I mean, great going for the Spore there, but I just worry about the HP of that Amoonguss. It doesn't have any recovery, and even if Dragapult is able to sleep for all the maximum turns, those Sludge Bombs are really not putting in the work. He needs to be able to get a few cheeky critical hits there. That's one. Maybe with 2 more turns, you're going to be able to whittle it down, but I think it would only be into the red bar of that HP, so it just wouldn't be able to pick up that KO. But Dragapult's still sleeping. Going for another Sludge Bomb. Do we get a critical hit? No. So I think there's only 1 more potentially there for Amoonguss, or two more Sludge Bomb potentials.
It needed. Now there it is. Dragapult wakes up and the Breaking Swipe connects. It was a long road for Amoonguss to try and get it there, but in the end, a game that, I mean, game 1, 4 turns, so close.